that escaped.
Right.
So 33 prisoners. And how were they able to get access? And what's the security situation on those buses as far as making sure these guys can't get access to these weapons?
That's part of the investigation right now. As you know, we have secure vehicles, and that should not have happened, so we're investigating that as you speak.
And there was only 2 correctional officers on that bus?
That's accurate.
And that's normal?
That is normal.
Routine.
That's protocol. Yes, sir.
And we understand they were on a work detail, so were they out?
No, they were in transport. They were not on work detail. They were transport from one facility to another.
You guys are all law enforcement is a family.
Yes.
But when it's and that's not to minimize the sheriff's, what the feelings he's feeling, but when it's your department, it's got to hit really hard.
Yes, this morning at approximately 7:30, I received a call. My heart is still in the shoes of my souls today. It brings tears to my heart, brings tears to my eyes. I will say that the outreach and pouring, first and foremost by the sheriff and his team, has been phenomenal. But the rest of law enforcement across this state has just been overwhelming as far as their support.
When's the last time you folks have had any officers killed like this?
Last time we had someone die in the line of duty was in 2012. We had an officer at Telfair State Prison, Officer Stell, that was killed inside the prison.
How about transport on a transport facility? Do you know that?
I do not know when the last transport officer was killed. No, sir.
Sheriff, if I can bring you back in, I apologize. But Sheriff, where do we go with? How do we get these guys?
We get these guys by the public looking for this green Honda Civic. That's what we need. We need somebody to find this car, find these individuals. They're armed, they're dangerous. Call 911 if you see it immediately.
Obviously, don't approach them.
Obviously not. Don't approach them. We have no idea where they are at this point in time. They've had several hours before we were ever able to identify who they were. So the pup we need somebody to find. It's a grass green, this way it's described, 2004 Honda Civic. I've given you the license, 4-door. We need to find that vehicle. They may well have dumped that vehicle and stolen another car. Any reports of auto thefts or carjacking right now are crucial that we know those anywhere in the state.
And they have the weapons that
they are armed with 40 caliber Glock pistols, 2 of them.
The person who was carjacked this morning, what do we know about that person?
He's a local resident here. They just happened to be coming along at the wrong time.
Was he injured?
He was not injured. He stopped. He thought it was a work detail. He stopped. The bus was stopped in the road, so he stopped. The next thing he knew, 2 guys approached him armed with pistols. He exited his vehicle and flagged down the first car that came by.
What can you tell us? I mean, you gave us that this is an extensive criminal record for these 2. Where are they from? Where might they have ties, especially for folks who live in those areas?
Dubose is from Madison County, Comer, Georgia. That's the last address before he went to prison. He was last arrested by the Elbert County Sheriff's Office in Elberton, which is a neighboring county. Mr. Rowe is originally from Tennessee, from Middle Tennessee.
Do you know if the gentleman who was carjacked, did he have anything else stolen, money?
His cell phone, but we know generally, the evidence appears that the prisoners threw the cell phone out of the car not far from the scene. We're looking for it this time.
So on the bus, these 2 inmates, they were able to grab the weapon.
Yeah, I can only tell you that one corrections officer was driving the bus. This is a big bus. There was another officer up front and a seat adjacent to him. They went through the gate. I can't tell you how the gate got opened. It should have been locked. It may have been locked. I have no idea. They obviously, according to the other prisoners who are witnesses, have told us that they overpowered them, that there was an physical altercation, and took sidearms away from them.
And they shot them on the bus.
They were both shot on their bus. I have their blood on my shoes.
Can we get your name? I'm sorry, I apologize.
My name is Greg Dozier, D-O-Z-I-E-R, Commissioner of the Georgia Department of
I
Corrections.
know this is going to sound silly, but just for the folks back there, G-R-E-G?
Yes, sir. G-R-E-G.
Sheriff, was the bus moving when this started?
Well, obviously it was moving when it started. I mean, that goes without saying.
No, I didn't know if they had stopped for some reason.
No, they had not stopped. This vehicle was found running in the middle of the roadway. Not in the middle of the roadway, but in the lane it was supposed to be.
Have you been able to speak to the families of the correctional officers, and how are they doing? How are they holding up?
We have spoken to the families. As you can imagine, they are shooken and they are distraught right now, just as you and I would be.
Can we have their names again? And if you can, do you have their spelling?
I'm going to give you something on all of them.
Are these, and not that this minimizes one way or the other, but are these family folks? Do they leave behind kids? Any of that type? Anything you can tell us about that?
One was married, left behind a wife. I'm not sure about kids at this point. The other one was not married, and we have spoken to his next of kin.
And which one was married? Can you tell us?
I don't recall, sir.
Well, regardless, I mean, you have to feel the pain of these families, and this is part of your family.
Absolutely. They are part of our family. The GDC family runs deep, and I feel for them, and we feel for the officers that work with them on a daily basis. And honestly, it hit each one of us very hard, and we're still struggling with that.
I'm sure that's.
And we will use, the one thing that the sheriff and us and all the other law enforcement agencies, you asked about that, we'll use all resources necessary to find these individuals.
What's your message to these two escaped inmates if they happen to see this on TV? What's the message?
Well, I would suggest they surrender before we find them.
I would say it's just a tragic day, and they've had a past of crime, and they've chosen to take a future in crime, and that's not the message that they should continue forward. And we will find them, and they will pay the price.
Thank you. We appreciate it. Thank you, Sheriff.
Okay, thank y'all.
Good job. On the pants. See the blood.
You won't be able to see that.
All right, everyone, that's the end of that press conference. I want to go ahead and show you guys some of the images of these suspects that are wanted in this terrible, terrible story. This is one of the suspects, and this is the other. Again, these two are armed and dangerous. They overpowered the prison guards on the bus, took the guns from the guards, and then killed them both. The individuals then fled. They carjacked a Honda Civic, and they are on the run. They are wanted and dangerous. Again, these are two inmates on the run, 2 officers killed. The Putnam County Sheriff's Office said about 30 other inmates were on this prison bus when 2 inmates overpowered the guards. One of the inmates shot and killed them. At this point, it's not clear which of the escaped inmates did the killing. But again, this inmate is wanted, as is this inmate. The escaped prisoners have been identified as Donnie Russell Rowe, 43 years old, and Ricky Dubose, 24 years old. Now, Rowe, whose nickname is Whiskey, was convicted of armed robbery and is in prison for life without parole. Dubose was also convicted of armed robbery. Rowe has been in prison since 2002. Dubose has been in prison just since July of 2015. Again, the Georgia officials there are urging the public not to approach the men and to instead call 911 if they spot them. The prisoners are armed with pistols that belong to the officers. Authorities are searching for the suspects after the incident. This incident took place southeast of Atlanta. Now, U.S. Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein condemned the killings and said during a testimony this morning before a Senate budget panel that federal resources are being committed to help catch these fugitives. Rosenstein said, "An attack on any American law enforcement officer is an attack on every American law enforcement officer and the principles we all believe in." These are the two inmates. The victims in this tragedy are Christopher Monica and Curtis Billue, both employees with the Georgia Department of Corrections. Again, this is a developing story. Just wanted to give you guys an update here. It looks like